call the August 11th, 2021 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Chairman Jacks,
Here.
Commissioner Barlow,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly,
Here.
Commissioner Hassett,
Here.
Commissioner Mule,
One.
Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Abbott,
Here.
Commissioner Alexander,
Here.
Commissioner Morse, and Vice Chair Gillette.
Here.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Automated announcement, please.
Anyone who has not signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Should anyone wish to speak, please complete a request to speak form, which is also located on the lobby table, next to the sign-in sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item you would like to speak on. Please note, there are stairs on the right, left, and center aisles, and we ask that you use caution when using the stairs. There is also a ramp located to the audience's left. If anyone has written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters they intend to present at today's meeting, have 17 copies and give them to a staff member at the back of the auditorium. Staff member, please hold up your hand for the audience. If you do not have 17 copies, you may use the overhead camera to present your documents. Please place your documents on the podium and line it up with the arrows indicated. If you want your documentation to go on record, you must hand them to the clerk after your presentation with the agenda item number clearly marked on the documentation. Members of the public cannot speak to staff members that are seated at the tables with microphones during the meeting. If you have questions, please see the staff member located in the back of the auditorium. All speakers will be limited to 2 minutes to make their presentation statements. Everyone, please turn off all cell phones or place them on vibrate during the meeting. If you must take a call, please leave the meeting area and go outside to have your conversation. We also ask the audience to refrain from talking with one another during the presentations and discussions. Today, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear public testimony and then forward a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Everyone attending the meeting is asked to remember that the administrative building and campus are tobacco-free areas, which means no smoking is allowed from curb to curb. No food and drinks are allowed in the auditorium except for bottled water. If there are any items remaining on the agenda, the commission will break for lunch for 1 hour per the chairman's discretion.
The items with the recommendation made by the commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, September 7th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. in this same location, with the exception of any continued items. Item 5, need a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 14th, 2021.
I'll make a motion to approve the July meetings.
Commissioner Abbott made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by a commissioner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 1A.
Item 1A is an evaluation of a request for an amendment to the Mahomet County General Plan from an SR suburban residential land use designation to a GC general commercial land use designation, and an amendment to the Virgin River Communities SDA Suburban Development Area Land Use Designation to a COM Commercial Land Use Designation for Assessor's Parcel Number 402-77-009M in the scenic vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. Is the applicant available with us today? The applicant is not here. We'll open up for public hearings. Do we have anyone wishing to speak on item 1A? Okay, close the public hearings. Do we have any commissioner that has questions or comments at this time? Okay, Chair will now call for a motion on item 1A.
I'll move to approve item 1A and along with the staff recommendations.
I have a motion by Commissioner Alexander. Looking for a second?
Second.
Commissioner, a second by Commissioner Martin. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 1B.
Item 1B is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of Assessor's Parcel Number 402-77-009M from an AR 8A Agricultural Residential 8-acre minimum lot size zone to a C2H Highway Commercial Zone to allow for commercial and multifamily structures in the scenic vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Is the applicant here with us, present? No. Okay, open up public hearing. Do we have anyone wishing to speak on item 1B? No. Does any commissioner have questions or comments at this time? Chair will now call for a motion on item 1B.
Motion to approve with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Martin makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 2.
Item number 2 is an evaluation of a request for a special use permit for Assessor's Parcel Number 402-32-184 to allow for a recreational vehicle park in an AR Agricultural Residential Zone in the Littlefield vicinity. Staff has received a letter of opposition with 9 signatories. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. Is the applicant available? Would you like to speak, sir? Sure. If you'd give us your name and address.
My name is Ronald Freitas Jr. My address is 4255 East Willow Road in Desert Springs, Arizona.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to, I've had an RV park there since my family bought it about in 2012. I haven't been running it as an RV park. I just have family and my sons and my RV parked out there. Recently, I discovered that I wasn't allowed to, so I've been going through the steps through the county to make sure that I can just have my family parked there. I'm not necessarily trying to run a business, but I'm having to go through these processes to have more than one RV on my property. So I'm just going through the right routes to make sure that I'm able to do that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
I have a question for the
We
applicant.
have a question.
Yes, sir.
In this letter we got here said, in order to issue this permit, they feel the county should accept Willow Road as a dedicated right-of-way. What do you think of that? How does that affect?
The Willow Road, it doesn't affect, it's wide. The neighbor who owns it had a grader come out there about 2 years ago and grade the whole road, so it's really wide. We've been using it for the past 10 to 12 years, and there's not a lot of traffic going up and down that road anyway. It's a dead-end road, and there's only about 4 neighbors or 5 neighbors that are behind that on me, so there's not going to be a lot of traffic or increase in traffic.
Is it a private road now?
From everything I'm reading, yes, I did not know that it was, and this is my first hearing of it and understanding that it was a privately owned road, but everybody uses that road from all the way, from Farm Road all the way up. I believe the lady who owns it, Miss Sharon Bell, she's the one who's trying to get it to turn into a county road, but I don't know what kind of roadblocks she's running into.
Could I ask staff the same question, or part of the question? Is that is that Willow Road, is it a private road now?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Abbott, the road is actually its own parcel and is owned by an individual. I would refer to our Public Works representative, Greg Vanderveer from Public Works, to maybe to speak to it more fully.
Hello, my name is Greg Vanderveer, Mojave County Public Works Engineering Tech Specialist. In my recommendation on this item, on behalf of the department, asked that that road be demonstrated that it is a public road, and if necessary, that it be dedicated via a separate instrument document.
So that will be part of the requirement?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
In your packet as well, there is a letter from the owner of that parcel, the Jojoba Family Trust, I believe. They are indicating that they would like to dedicate the road to the county for a public road. Part of the site plan review process would require that the parcel itself has the legal public access needed as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh,
I do have
yes.
a question. I'd like to know if the owner of the road is the only one that's keeping it up, or are the other people along that road helping?
Chairman, Commissioner Gillette, I don't know the answer to that. Perhaps the applicant, because he lives there, might be able to help answer that better than we could.
The road doesn't need a lot of maintenance, but a lot of us, while we're walking up and down or driving the cars, we will just throw rocks out of the way and try to maintain it ourselves a little bit. But other than that, there's not a lot of maintenance that needs to be on that road. After she graded it, it was improved quite a bit. So it's wider, and there's a lot more room on that road since the grader has been out there and moved a lot of the dirt.
Who paid for the grader?
The owner of the property, that trust, which is, her name's Sharon Bell.
So no one pitched in to help her?
No one pitched in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sorry, one more question. Mr. Freites? So you don't want to operate as an RV park, you just want to be in compliance to allow your family to live there, correct?
Absolutely.
So in the petition of opposition, the three things that are stated is increased travel on gravel and dirt road resulting in increased dust and noise. Are all these people aware that you don't want to operate as an RV park?
Most of them a lot of them are new, like just moved in and built a couple new places. Most of them don't have an idea what's going on. A lot of the people just bought new houses. A lot of the homes that are on that list have resold to new owners by now already also. They just across the street, they built that pilot gas station and another 300 space home division with an RV park on the back of it. So the growth there is inevitable. It's hard for us to stop it. I don't think it'll increase traffic. I'm not going to be advertising to have people come in and out of that road. I kind of like
it's just your family though, right?
I like the rural area, but they're saying that I can't even park my own camper in the yard. And that's what I was planning on doing for my retirement, was just parking a camper and letting my boys stay in the house. So I'm just trying to progress the legal and right route so I can
But by doing this change, you have the legal authority to operate an RV park.
Absolutely.
So in 6 months from now, if you wanted to,
I
you could.
needed to, I could, yes.
Right. Item number 2 is your past disregard for existing zoning restrictions. Do you know what they're referencing?
I think they're just throwing that in there as a wrench in the thing because I've been in contact with the county even back in, I think, 2007 when we bought the property. My parents had it approved for a 150-space RV park that whoever was down here at the time had full-on approved for, but then my parents went through a divorce and all of that kind of crumbled, and I was just able to keep that 3.5 acres. And I wasn't really going to do the RV park anymore until one of my new neighbors who came in bought the property behind me, and it was a foreclosed one, and he wanted to buy mine, and I wouldn't sell it to him. So he made a statement that I was running that, and I'm not even running an RV park, so there's not a lot of traffic coming in and out of there. The RVs that are parked there are stationary and permanent, and nobody's moving in and out. I don't have a monthly or weekly or daily rate there at all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My next question is for staff. So there's the one letter of support stating that the road is privately owned and then they would gladly give it to the county, correct? And then there's one letter of concern stating that the road would need to be brought up to code, accepted as a publicly dedicated road, brought up to standards, et cetera, et cetera. If all that's accurate and they have septic tank, leach lines, septic tanks over property lines, et cetera, you can technically not bring that road up to compliance, I'm assuming, right? And the only way for him to change zoning is to have that egress, ingress on a public road?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hassett, so your question is they can't bring the road up to
Well,
standards?
would you even accept this as a road and then bring it up to standards?
That would be a question for our Public Works Department, if I could refer that to Greg as well.
And, well, before he gets up, the only way for this gentleman to get the zoning changes he's asking is for the egress, ingress to be on a public road, correct?
Yeah, and it's not a zoning change, it's just a special use permit.
I'm
not
sorry,
trying-
special use
yeah.
permit, my apologies.
That's also what I think my neighbors are misunderstanding also, is that I'm trying to change it to a zoning where it's going to be commercial or something as opposed to just a special use permit.
Right.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hassett, that is correct. If with this approval, there is a 1-year time frame that they have to be in compliance with all the conditions that are set forth with a special use permit. One of those conditions is a site plan that is approved by Mojave County. That review goes through our department, goes through Public Works Department. They would have to meet all our current commercial standards with public access, handicap accessibility, anything else that we would require has to be approved within that 1-year time frame, or the site plan has to be approved within that 1-year time frame for it to vest, essentially.
Otherwise, the special use permit is revoked.
Correct.
Meaning in order to gain the access that's required by the special use permit, you would have to make all of those changes on that road that this gentleman is, this woman is claiming, Barbara Rowley, and then in turn, you'd have to get the county to actually accept that and take that road over, correct?
Commissioner Hassett, that is correct. It has to meet our full
You
commercial
willing
standards.
to do all that work just to get your family to live there?
Well, it would end up being a worthless property because it's been there since 1989 with the RV park. So I don't, that's what we bought it as. I mean, nobody told us anything when we purchased it or previously that when we got all this approved, that the road was privately owned and we had to change it. I don't know what I can do to change the road because I don't own it and also I'm not part of the county, but.
Right. So, I mean, at this point, based solely on the fact that he doesn't even have one of the requirements, it's actually impossible to grant that permit, correct? No?
No, you can still grant the permit and then
Well,
he
has
can
a
work
year
it
to do
out.
it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That's all my questions. Thank you.
I have a question. Apparently, there are 9 people who live off of this Willow Road.
What, 70? Well, there's more like 10 or 12, but on the way up before mine, there's only going to be 1, 2, maybe 9 before my turnoff.
But there is at least 9 people who use that road as their ingress and egress to their property.
At least. More like 15.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. Or is it
Have
too
to do
soon?
public comment. and then-
Okay.
Do we have anyone wishing to speak on item 2 in the auditorium? No. Okay, Commissioner Gillette?
I'd like to make the motion that we accept or approve this with the contingency that something be done about Willow Road as ingress and egress for all the properties along that road, and also with the staff's recommendations.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, Commissioner Neal made a second, so all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 3.
Item number 3 is an evaluation of a request for a special use permit for assessor's parcel number 402-38021 to allow for a recreational vehicle park in an AR agricultural residential zone in the Littlefield vicinity. This item was originally heard by this commission on June 9th, 2021, and was continued to this meeting. Because of concerns surrounding the surrounding property owners regarding access to the site. We've received 2 additional letters of opposition from the attorney representing one of those surrounding property owners, as well as a letter of response from the applicant's attorney. And we've added a condition. You'll see that condition number 2 on the staff recommendation states that public access to the site must be obtained to the satisfaction of the county engineer. And that would be reviewed during the RV park plan review process. Staff recommends approval with that condition as well as the standard conditions.
Is the applicant present? You state your name and address, please.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, my name is Dayton Hall. I'm the attorney for the applicant. My address is 965 East 700 South in St. George, Utah. Is now when I can be heard? I had some comments. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you just heard, the staff has recommended approval of this special use permit application subject to some conditions. The key one is that the adequate access is approved by the county attorney during the site plan review. We have no objection to that. We feel like that's appropriate to ensure that. We're asking here for the approval, and we're fine with the conditions that the staff has recommended on the approval to go on to the Board of Supervisors. I would just like to comment, in the last meeting, obviously access was the key issue. The commission requested that a traffic study be provided, and the applicant has hired an engineer. A traffic statement was provided. In summary, it found that the roadway in its current condition would adequately service the proposed development. You'll also notice in one of the letters that was submitted by one of the neighbors in opposition that the actual easements, the recorded easements that confirmed the easement, were attached to that letter. So there is no question that there is an easement that services this property. The question is that road and is that easement adequate? And that's a question that I feel is best decided by your county engineer in this site review process. So again, we've provided all the information that's necessary under the application. We just ask that you complete this first phase, let us move on to the second phase, and see if we can meet the county engineer's requirements. I will note that the applicant expects and is fine to do improvements to the existing road. It's a paved road right now. He has no objection to maintaining and improving that roadway as required by the county engineer. So that's what I had prepared for you. I'll answer any questions if you have any for me.
Any questions? Commissioner Martin?
So basically, this is a residential area, and are you seeking to operate a commercial RV park?
Yeah, it will be a commercial use, and it's an agricultural area, and there are 2 homes that are serviced by the same easement that my client's property is serviced by. So, I mean, there are 2 houses there. I'm not sure if calling it a residential area is accurate, but there are 2 residences. It's down off the hill next to the Virgin River, kind of tucked up against the hill. It's really a really nice place for an RV park. It's secluded. There's a pond on the property, which will be surrounded by a park. It's going to be a really nice improvement to the area.
Any other questions?
Yes, Chairman, I have a question.
Commissioner, yes.
This easement that goes through the property of the adjacent owner, there's some confusion in my mind. I've read 30 feet, I've read 24 feet, I've read 20 feet of easement, but I think my main question is on this adjacent owner's property, because it is an easement, is that owner going to be responsible for keeping that roadway up to an appropriate level for the traffic that's coming in? Who's going to have the responsibility for the maintenance of that part of the easement? Maybe it's for staff.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Alexander, the responsibility of the easement, to back up a little bit, we would require that the access would be publicly dedicated, or that there is a legal access for public use, and to the county's engineers' standards. Therefore, if it is to their standards that they have it be county maintained, then it would be maintained by the county.
So in follow-up to that, if this owner does not want to dedicate that easement for public use, then it's kind of a null and void situation?
I'll let our attorney speak to that.
So what the recommendation from staff is that it meets this condition. That condition being that there is public access, correct? Whether that's through this easement, whether that's through a private drive someplace else, if it requires some sort of creative engineering, if the current adjacent property owner is not willing to give any additional access there, and assuming that the current access is limited as the adjacent property owner contends, then the applicant would still be able to seek other methods of getting public access. With respect to your original question as to if this easement is used, typically speaking, an easement, the owner of the easement is responsible for the maintenance. The adjacent property owner would simply be responsible not to interfere with the easement.
So in other words, if that doesn't work out for the applicant, then he would find in a different direction to approach his property.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We have Alex Jensen wishing to speak on the item.
I'm not Alex Jensen. I'm going to jump in front of him in line if that's okay, Mr. Chair. My name is Matt Harrison. I'm the attorney for Courtney and Jolene Jensen, the property owners opposing this application.
Okay.
I did submit 2 letters to the commission. I hope you guys had the chance to read them. Well, I hope you did, because they have a lot of good information, and I'm sorry if you did, because that's like 6 or 7 pages of legal boring stuff. Why do we care? My clients, Courtney and Jolene Jensen, this is important to them because this road, this private easement, goes about 100 feet behind their home. I've done dozens of things up in this corner of the state. I'm an attorney that practices out of St. George, Utah, but I practice in Arizona. A lot of times I see opposition from people where I think, why? Oh, do you have some personal issue? Do you have some beef? They care because this private road goes about 100 feet between their house and their horse barn. Kids, grandkids, all the time on it, crossing to see the animals. It's right behind their home. There's been a lot of weeds. There's been a lot of confusion about 60 feet, what's legally binding, what's the law, what's the standard. The main issue here is, and why we're advocating that the commission recommend denial of the application, is this easement, the legal right that gives the applicant to cross through my client's property right behind their home, is a private access easement based out of necessity. He has a landlocked parcel that doesn't have fancy engineering to take him over a hill some other way. This is the only way in and out of his parcel. He's landlocked by the Virgin River, he's landlocked by a hill, and this is a private driveway. Mr. Chair, I see I only have 10 seconds left. Would you mind granting me a short, brief time?
Okay.
Mr. Chair, thank you. So he's landlocked, and that's why he has this easement, this right to cross my client's property. My client will not be selling him additional rights. There's no legal way for him to get more rights. And we've provided deeds, we've provided records of survey, we've provided legal documents that make this unquestionable. I don't know Mr. Hall, but he seems like a good attorney because he submitted a letter with a lot of good attorney stuff in it, talking about, oh, there used to be a commercial use, or they ran trucks up and down the road for 8 years. None of that changes anything. The fact is, this is a private easement that gives just the applicant private access to his property. That can't be changed to a public use, like a 180 or 170 unit RV park, which is what they're proposing to do. He has the private use of the easement. That's important for a property owner. That's a big difference from allowing, some private driveway to 170 RVs. If my client desired, he could go out today and go out to that road, which was never engineered, it was never permitted, they just went and graded and threw some asphalt down. He could build concrete walls on either side of it. Obviously, that would be a bit drastic, but he has the legal right to do that. Imagine 180 RVs trying to go through 20 feet with walls on either side, how Public Works would feel about that, or how the county engineer would feel about safety for those 180 people using that access. So my main point is, why, if it's legally impossible, why place this condition on approval? Access is never going to change. It's impossible to have it now. He doesn't have it now. He can't show it now. It's going to be a big expense in the future to come before the Board of Supervisors, to have this one-year application process where Mr. Hall and I, maybe next time we can carpool down from St. George. It's a huge time, it's a huge expense, and it's a huge waste for something that's ultimately futile. He will never meet a necessary requirement of access because he legally doesn't have it. Even assuming something changed, this 8 years, trucks, something changed, it's a 20-foot access easement. It doesn't meet minimum standards for an RV park. It doesn't meet the 60, 50, 40. We haven't gotten a clear answer of what the standard is. The one standard I put forth in my letter, which is in the Code of Regulations, is 24 feet for a two-way internal roads of an RV park, and it will never meet that. So my petition to the commissioners would be to let's save everybody some time. If there's going to be this condition, deny it now so we can stop kind of the bleeding with all this money and time from everybody, and he can show access at a future point and make an application when it can be approved. Thank you. And I'd be happy to take questions.
Any questions for the speaker?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
From what you are saying, there is no other place on the property that an easement could be given to him.
The way his parcel sits, and there was a pretty good map in the materials, the north end is a pretty steep hill, and it would be very cost prohibitive, and I don't even actually know which parcels lay north of that, if they'd have to secure access through other property owners. There's several parcels in between his and an actual public road. And my client's parcel is imperative. You can't get around his parcel unless you're cutting down a mountain or building a bridge across the river somewhere.
Is your, is that property pretty level?
It is, yeah. My client's property is pretty level. Yeah, the road goes between his home and an animal barn, like I said. The road, like I said, was not built with the permit. It wasn't engineered, to my knowledge. It washes out all the time. It's thin in some areas, wider in others. It was built some time ago.
So it is your opinion that there is no other way that he could get an easement to that property?
I'm not a surveyor. Having seen the property, aerial images, descriptions for my client, there is virtually no other way that he could find another road out from his property to a public access point, but except through my client's property.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other commissioner questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Open to a public hearing. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak on item 3?
Good morning. Chairman Jacks, my name is Alex Jensen. I deferred to Matt. Thank you for the opportunity again to speak on this issue. I won't be redundant except to say I think one of the things that's been highlighted, and I think in some of the questioning that the Commission has directed to the earlier applicant is very timely. Just want to emphasize again, this is a private easement. Because of that, the county, nor any other legal governmental entity, has the ability to cause the use to change or the nature of that easement to change. That is something that has to be done by a court of law. And unless the county is going to exercise, which I don't anticipate you would, eminent domain to take the property for my brother. And so the reason I think that's important to recognize is the staff was indicating appropriately that there may be direction that the applicant would have to improve the road and maintain the road, and some of your questioning went to that point. The reality is because it's a private easement, and the beneficiaries of that easement, the rights associated with that easement, are held by 4 people, essentially, the abutting owners, is there is no ability for an individual owner to compel compliance with expanding the road, improving the road, maintaining the road, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because of the private nature. If it was a public access, then the government would have the ability to say, Mr. Jensen, you have to improve that to our standard. But where it's private, there's no ability. So the applicant, his representative, is willing to say, yes, we're willing to make improvements, but what they don't speak to is the fact that they don't have the legal ability to make those improvements without the consent of the abutting property owners, including my brother. And the government, the county in this case, doesn't have the ability to compel that. So what you end up with, if it's approved, is approval for a 169-unit RV park that essentially has no long-term guarantee of access, and let alone the quality of that access. And if anyone has taken the time to come to the site, you would be able to see that there are a multitude of logistical problems and access problems that have nothing to do with the road. So be happy to entertain any questions if there are any to clarify that.
Any questions by the commissioners?
Well, I have a question, but it would be for staff.
Commissioner Alexander?
Is it the staff's opinion that there is no other possible access to this property if the applicant was willing to invest into a different area? Is it possible? I don't know if it's Public Works that would answer that, or if it would be Development Services.
Commissioner Alexander, Chairman Jacks, I think I can answer your question from a legal perspective. We don't know. We don't know what, from the county's perspective, we don't know what the applicant is willing to do, what the applicant is willing to spend to gain legal access. As I think all of the parties here have indicated, you know, the dispute over what access is available through this, through the adjacent parcel, that's a dispute between those property owners. That's not a dispute for the county. That's a dispute that will likely be resolved in court if that's the route that the parties choose to go. If one party's not willing to give any additional access or insists that the access is limited, which it sounds like is the case at this point, there may be a court action. A court would be able to determine what access, if any, is available here through that easement. The contrary is, and arguments have been made that the topography prohibits any alternative access. Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, 100 years ago, the topography prevented the construction of US 93. They built a dam to take care of it. I don't know what lengths the applicant is willing to go to get alternative access if they're not able to get access through here. But that's not a determination that the county is able to make because it's not our dispute. All that staff is recommending is that if this is approved, that the condition be placed that public access is acquired.
Okay. Any other comments?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Commissioner Alexander?
If this is the only way in and out of that property, I can understand that the owner of the applicant owner could not be denied access to his property, but whether or not that easement could be in court or by agreement between the parties to meet the requirements of the county to allow access for a park in there. But how does the ingress egress work with this? I mean, am I correct in saying that the applicant has a right to the only ingress and egress to his property, but if he wants to put a park there, that it has to be improved, and then that would be between the two parties? Is that correct? I know it's very convoluted.
No, I think I understand your question. What we've got here is one party that's saying that they do have access, that they currently have access through this easement, that it meets the needs of their proposed use. The other party is saying that no, it does not. Again, that's not an issue for the county staff to determine. That's an issue for a court if it goes that far, or for the parties to work out outside of court. It doesn't sound like at this point the parties are willing to do that. And so all that the county can recommend is that if the commission approves this, that somehow the applicant is required to gain public access, whether it's through this easement and a court action, through a private, paying the adjacent parcel owner for the use, additional use, or through finding some creative engineering to gain access alternatively through this very difficult topography.
Commissioner Hassett?
Okay, so just real quick, and forgive me for not remembering, but the applicant this was continued from June 9th over to today. The applicant has done what we asked him to do, correct? He's petitioning for a special use permit in order to even consider the ability to make this RV park happen, right? And in that special use permit, he's going to need to gain public access by one way of moving 1 million cubic yards of dirt or buying land from the people who are opposing. So all you're asking us today is to determine with your recommendation that we approve the special use permit, and if he cannot comply, he's not going to get an RV park, right? I mean, that's really what it is. And if the people who are opposing are that confident that he can't gain public access, problem solved. If the gentleman wants to spend $1 billion moving dirt, let him, right?
That's a correct assessment, assuming that the commission approves the application with staff's recommendations.
Right.
Yes.
And the person the applicant says, yes, I think I can make this happen. The person opposing says, no, they can't, that's my road, which they may very well never get their road, which is fine. But if the applicant can figure out a way to make it happen without infringing on their space, then he can do it, right? All they need is approval from us to start the process to even make this happen.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Right.
I think we can wrap this one up.
All right, thank you.
May I make one more comment?
Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
sure.
I understand what you're saying, and there's some logic to that. I guess what I would propose is, as a matter of courtesy, is the two property owners, Mr. Caliando and Mr. Jensen, are residents of Mojave County. The applicant is not a resident of Mojave County. He is a property owner in Mojave County, but he's a resident of the state of Nevada. It seems a bit interesting that this body, who are appointed to represent the residents of Mojave County, would place the burden, instead of placing the burden of proof on the applicant who's a non-resident who wants to change things, as opposed to dealing with the concerns of existing residents. So I say that very carefully and respectfully. I mean, that's a very delicate balance, but I think that's the point that Mr. Harrison was trying to make in this issue, is either way the applicant has a year to meet the requirements that have been imposed appropriately by the county staff, but the one puts the burden clearly on the shoulders of the applicant, as opposed to those of us who are protesting to say it cannot work, if you will. If that makes sense. That would just be a respectful request as you consider your vote on this matter.
So I may be misunderstanding, but it is the burden of the applicant to prove that their special use permit can even occur. It's the people who are opposing this, I don't really have to do anything. They've spoken their piece regarding opposing it. So, I mean, it is on the applicant to prove that this can happen. The burden doesn't lie on them.
Well, I appreciate that perspective, and I agree with you to a degree, sir. I guess what I was saying is as Mr. Harrison, again, I think tried to address, is that what this does, it leaves the wound open. And with a permit having been approved, even with these conditions, then it puts the residents, in my opinion, in a constant state of worry and fear, not knowing what the status is, if something's going to change or if something's not going to change, as opposed to saying to the applicant, Mr. Applicant, we understand what your request is and it makes some sense. You go take care of that, and he's able to do that whether he has a permit or not have a permit. You go take care of the access and then bring that back to us. And if you bring that back to us, having obtained it, we'll happily put it back on the agenda and move forward with all speed. So I think it's an emotional toll and worry on the residents who know there's this approved permit out there with no understanding or ability to stay abreast of it.
I completely understand that, and I respect that. However, he's getting the special use permit, and he still has to comply. So it's not like the RVs are going to start rolling in. If the guy can't make it happen, it's not going to happen. No, right? So, I mean, the only way for him to start the process, and anyone can cut me off at any time if you'd like to, but the only way for him to start the process is for this commission to approve the special use permit.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Correct.
Anyone else wishing to speak on item number 3?
I have a question for staff.
Okay.
Who at the present time owns the easement? Is it state, county, or what?
From all of the information that's been provided, it appears that the applicant property owner owns the easement. That means he has legal access to go in and out of there. What we don't know is the scope of that easement. One side is saying that scope is very limited, that it's just for the property owner himself to go in and out, that he shouldn't be using, that it shouldn't be for commercial purposes. The applicant is saying that, well, we have been using it for commercial purposes previously, and we have that access. But again, that's not a determination that staff is able to make. That's something that's likely to be worked out in a court of law.
Yeah. Okay. Second conversation, are there any that utilities under the easement, or does anybody know?
It's my understanding that the easement is for ingress and egress only. But again, I don't know the full scope of what the easement is. And is it possible? Yes, that there's additional individuals who may have easements through here. But with respect to these two parcel owners, it's an ingress egress easement, which may include commercial use, which may not include commercial use.
Okay.
Any other questions by commissioners?
I have a question for staff. Is there any other commercial property adjacent to this, or is it all residential or vacant land?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Barlow, all the surrounding property, we do have a zoning map in your packet, is zoned AR. So it's all agricultural residential, but our agricultural residential zone does allow for the application of a special use permit for a commercial RV park. So it is something that is allowed under a special use permit with the AR zone.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Chair will now call for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion by Commissioner Martin, looking for a second.
What's the motion?
Deny.
A motion to deny.
Second the motion.
So we have a second by Commissioner Abbott to deny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Chairman Jackson.
Chairman,
Yes.
can I just confirm who were in the negative, please?
Yes.
Just call for a roll call, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's call, roll call, please.
Okay. Chairman Jacks?
Nay.
Nay. Commissioner Barlow? Commissioner Kelly? Commissioner Hassett?
I'm sorry. Nay.
Okay. Commissioner Hassett?
Nay.
Commissioner Meal?
Nay.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Abbott?
Well, I'm a little confused. I should understand ayes and nays. But in this particular case, could we have that roll call and have a yes, that we agree with the motion, no, we disagree with it? I'm confused how this is coming out.
Nay is no.
I know, ayes, yes.
Chairman Jacks?
Yes.
If I could suggest that the motion be restated?
Yes.
And then the roll call vote happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to deny the special use permit.
I second the motion.
Okay. Chairman Jacks?
No.
Commissioner Barlow?
Yes. You would disagree.
Commissioner Kelly?
What is this? Can't get the thing to stop.
Yay.
Okay, you want to deny the permit.
No, I'm sorry.
So-
Nay.
Nay.
Commissioner Hassett?
Nay.
Commissioner Meal?
Nay.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Morse?
No.
Commissioner Gillette?
Nay.
Okay, so I have 6 noes and 4 yeses. So the motion does not pass.
Okay, motion does not pass. We're looking for another motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the application with the stipulations from the staff, which include the egress and ingress.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Hassett. We'll take a roll call vote. All those in favor?
Okay. Chairman Jacks?
Yay.
Commissioner Barlow?
No.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yay.
Commissioner Hassett?
Yes.
Commissioner Meal?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
No.
Commissioner Abbott?
No.
Commissioner Alexander? Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner Gillette?
Aye.
Okay, 6 to 4 passes.
Okay, motion passes. We're moving on to item 4. To get this item started, a commissioner must make a motion to move item 4 be taken from the table, since we tabled it last month. So I'm looking for a motion to move item 4 be taken from the table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we remove item 4 from the table.
Okay, got a
Second.
motion and got a second by Commissioner Hassett. A roll call vote as a majority must be yes.
What are you going to kill for?
Chairman Jacks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly. Yes. Commissioner Hassett,
Yes.
Commissioner Meal,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Abbott,
Yes.
Commissioner Alexander,
Yes.
Commissioner Morse,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Gillette.
Yes.
Okay, it passes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to item number 4.
Item number 4 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 120-05-144 from an RE residential recreation zone to a C2H highway commercial zone to allow for an indoor boat and recreational vehicle storage facility in the Lake Havasu vicinity. This item was initially tabled July 14th, 2021, and untabled at the current meeting. Since the last meeting, we have received 11 additional letters of opposition with a grand total of 30 for this item. In addition, we have also received some correspondence from the Arizona Department of Transportation weighing in on this. These letters were included in your packet. To provide a brief summary, ADOT is stipulating that access should be from Hyde Park Road instead of State Route 95 for the safety of the highway users. They state that concentrated access points such as those along Hyde Park are consistently proven to be safer than allowing direct access from driveways. They also go on to mention that they might consider allowing direct access to the highway if the developer was willing to construct a raised median island along their frontage. ADOT suspects that this would likely be met with objection from the neighboring car dealership on the other side of the road, which is in the city limits of Lake Havasu City. Additionally, such a median island would also have a likely effect of blocking the northbound left turn into the subdivision, thereby forcing all the subdivision residents' traffic to go up into Shenneworth Road and make their left turns there. ADOT has professed that if that scenario is acceptable, that they'd be willing to work with the developer on that. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
I believe we have a statement by our attorney on this item at this point.
I'm not sure if there's a question. I know at the previous meeting, there was quite a bit of discussion as to either gaining access through Hyde Park or alternatively on the highway there. But as staff indicated, there are some hurdles that ADOT has imposed if access is to be from the highway rather than through Hyde Park. And so I would just suggest that the commission take into consideration the hurdles that would have to be gone through to get access through Hyde Park. And also, I would suggest that the commissioner's request of the applicant information concerning their willingness to expend the funds to be able to do that, or any alternatives that they might have come up with in the meantime.
Okay. And I have an email from looking at what the attorneys had to say on this item. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, good. All right, thank you. Yep. All right, so is the applicant available here for item 4?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for your time today. Last time we were here, I think the lingering question was access, and the reason this got tabled was so we could go to ADOT and understand what they would allow us or not allow us to do. And since that time, there's been some additional letters that have come in. So I just want to address the concerns from the neighborhood behind this parcel. Primarily relates to traffic. I did see some concerns regarding diminution of value. I don't think we need to speak to the diminution of value, but as an appraiser, I've done studies on storage units next to residential zones, and they actually are quite good buffers. They're very quiet. The amount of lighting at night is very minimal, and the traffic counts are almost the lowest possible use that we could have on that parcel. So when we're talking about traffic, I don't understand how we could actually be less impactful than the type of use we're talking about. Today I'm going to introduce, and he was here last time too, Scott Kelly is our traffic engineer. He's been in contact directly with ADOT. He was able to reach out to them the day after we had the last meeting. He will explain some of the recommendations that we have, but primarily I'm here to say we're still here and we're still willing to work with the neighborhood behind us. We hear those concerns. We're willing to self-impose a double pork chop, which substantially decreases the chance of anybody turning into the neighborhood out of the development or through the neighborhood taking a right turn into our neighborhood. So now it's as much as we can possibly do on our own recourse, we are willing to do that to minimize those impacts. Again, I'm going to let Scott talk to that a little bit more, but what I would say is just that if we don't develop it with this use, any other type of use is going to have a higher traffic impact. I mean, it just is. The other uses that could be developed on there include potentially an RV park. There's other things that could happen that would have a worse, not only traffic impact, but actual noise and lighting at night and other things. So we feel like this is a justified use. The entire highway up and down is almost exclusively, whether it be within the city limits or whether it be within the county limits, is almost exclusively C2H. And so, again, we feel this is appropriate and it fits in with the neighborhood. And moreover, we're willing to work with the neighbors as much as we possibly can to eliminate and mitigate their concerns. So with that, I'll have Scott, our traffic engineer, come up and say a few things.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, so we have been in consultation with ADOT on the access, as it was mentioned by staff on the email correspondence. If there were to be a driveway on SR 95, they would require a median be placed there. That median would prohibit any northbound left turns into the parcel. That would essentially make a right-in, right-out turn at the driveway off of SR 95. And what that median would additionally do is it would force traffic, northbound traffic, to go further north on SR 95, either make a U-turn and come back down to make a right into the site, or that traffic would make a left turn at Chenoweth Road and then traverse the community in order to be able to make a right at Hyde Park and then a right into the driveway. So really this solution causes more issues from a traffic standpoint than it really solves. Really consolidation of the access onto Hyde Park is the best solution here. As Luke mentioned, there will be what's called the double pork chop, so that will only allow northbound rights out of the development, so that nobody will be making a left to go through the community, and then they'll have to make a right or a left at SR 95 and Hyde Park. For any vehicles making a northbound left turn at Hyde Park coming into the RV and storage, they can only make a left turn in there. So if they were to come through the community, the pork chops will be set up in such a way that somebody coming through the community will not be able to execute a right turn in there. So they will have to go back out onto SR 95 and figure out a different way in. That is the plan, to prohibit any vehicles coming through the actual development along Hyde Park. So really what we're trying to do is make sure that there are no RV and boat storage folks that are going to come through the community, and that their access is limited to really just Hyde Park, and that's the section of road that they'll be traversing. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
Any questions for the speaker? No, thank you.
Okay, I think, Chris, did you want to say anything additional?
Good morning. I'm Christopher Hughes. I'm the applicant, the developer for this property. So as you heard, we reached out to ADOT specifically for the question that the commission had. The answer initially was no access. The second answer was maybe there was a possibility We looked at the solution that they offered and realized this isn't a solution for everyone. This is actually, it's worse for the neighbors because they would all have to go up to Chenoweth. It's worse for our tenants because they would have to then travel through Lake Ridge to come back down for a right-only entry on the 95. And the dealership across the street, we did ask them about their feelings about a median, and they're totally opposed to it. So we're back to access on Hyde Park. So that's why we did submit Exhibits B and C with the letter that I wrote on July 26th, showing the double pork chop that Mr. Kelly mentioned, which would eliminate any traffic traveling into the facility from entering, from going through Lake Ridge Estates and entering into our facility, and it would eliminate traffic exiting our facility from making a left and going back into that community. So we did solve that problem. And I also want to highlight that if the zoning were to remain residential, would the commission then require that access be on the 95, given that ADOT's requirement for access on the 95? And residential property is going to produce 10 times the number of trips per day that an RV and boat storage property is going to produce. So, so that, then the question is, would it be for residential? Would that access also be on Hyde Park? Because I believe it should be for us as well. And that's why we designed the driveway the way we did. And also highlight the fact that the traffic that this will produce will be less than 2%, 1.9% by calculation of the Institute for Traffic Engineers, 1.9% addition to the existing traffic that already comes from Lake Ridge and Cambridge, the two communities there. So it really is a very small impact, additional impact on traffic. Hyde Park is certainly the safest way to enter the highway, and our driveway design eliminates the possibility of traffic going through and disturbing the residents of Lake Ridge Estates. So I'm happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have.
Any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on item 4? Okay, closing the public hearing. Do any commissioners have any questions or comments at this time? Chair will now call for a motion. Looking for a motion on item 4.
I'll make a motion to approve item 4 according to the staff recommendations.
Motion by Commissioner Alexander. Looking for a second.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just as a note, the proposal that the applicant is proposing with the double pork chop is not part of the conditions.
Okay.
So if that's something that you want to
Yes, I do.
require, then that was something that you would have to put on the conditions.
Yes, thank you. I would like to amend the motion to
Okay.
include the pork chop,
Thank you. Okay.
double pork chop
Okay.
requirement.
Motions have been amended. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Got a second by Commissioner Barlow. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay.
Yay.
You better take a roll call vote.
Okay. Chairman Jacks,
Aye.
Commissioner Barlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Hassett,
No.
I hate to be the one that has confused about that motion, but I am. Rezoning, and it's either versus pulling in and off of Hyde Park, but they're also willing to put in the pork chop. Your motion is to require the pork chop, even though surrounding parties are saying that it's going to impact their business, and then they could potentially end up going through the neighborhood anyways.
I believe the pork chop is their entrance, or is that?
I think the median,
Mr. Chairman.
is what was impacting the other businesses, from what I understand.
Mr. Chairman?
Ask our attorney to speak, please.
Commissioner Hassett and Chairman Jacks and Commissioner Martin, based on the information that's been provided, I think that's correct. ADOT's recommended second recommendation, I guess, involving the median, is what they indicated would cause traffic to go to Chenoweth rather than Hyde Park, because there won't be a left-hand turn there. With the double pork chop, that will allow the current traffic off of the highway, and as the applicant indicated, will force those who are coming onto the applicant's property to make a left-hand turn coming in and a right-hand turn going out.
But the double pork chop would force people onto Chenoweth.
If I can clarify a little bit, the double, so what's being proposed and what staff recommended would be for the double pork chop to be on Hyde Park Avenue. This does not include access. The staff's conditions do not require access on SR 95 nor prevent access on Hyde Park. So what the proposal, the motion is to approve it, but requiring the double pork chop on Hyde Park.
Which would allow access on and off of Hyde Park. I'm just looking at a map trying to keep traffic out of the neighborhood.
And it would, so the double pork chop, as was mentioned by the applicant's representative, what the double pork chop does is how do I put this? It discourages left-hand turns. I won't say that I've never seen somebody bring a tire over a pork chop, but it discourages the left-hand movement into the neighborhood. It also discourages right-hand movements from the neighborhood into the development. So in a sense, it forces all traffic to the development from SR 95 onto Hyde Park and then into the development, and prevents access into the neighborhood. Okay, and if I could get IT to put the overhead camera on, I believe the applicant has a description of the pork chop, the double pork chop proposed.
Can't find it.
IT's on break.
There we go. So what's being proposed, the double pork chop mentioned is what's being proposed on Hyde Park Road.
It's in your
not
packet.
on SR 95. The discussion, as was mentioned, about neighboring businesses or nearby businesses having issues with the proposal. The issue was by placing the access or restricting the access to SR 95, ADOT's initial indication is that they would require a median along 95 prohibiting left turns into that access, basically prohibiting traffic crossing 95 to go basically northbound.
So, okay, good. So the double pork chop is on the developer's property. It's what would require them, they'd be turning on and off of Hyde Park, off of Highway 95, on and off from Hyde Park. So that is not, okay, then I support that.
Thank you.
I needed a picture to help me out with that. So that would be an aye.
Okay.
I apologize. Commissioner Meal?
No, nay.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Abbott?
No.
Commissioner Alexander?
Aye.
Commissioner Morse?
Aye.
Vice Chair Gillette?
Nay.
The ayes have it 6-4, so it passes.
Okay, motion for item number 4 passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 5.
Item number 5 is an evaluation of a request to rescind Board of Supervisors Resolution number 2005-164, causing the property to revert from an RO, single-family residential, manufactured homes prohibited zone to the previous AR agricultural residential zone for assessors parcel numbers 225, 52, 007, and 025, as requested by the property owner, and the conditions of approval have not been met. This is in the Mojave Valley vicinity. This property was conditionally approved for a rezone to that RO zone by the Board of Supervisors in April of 2005. The vesting of that RO zone was conditioned on the recordation of a final plat of Mountainside Village Tract 4193. As of this date, a final plat has not been recorded. Staff recommends that BOS Resolution Number 2005-164 be rescinded and the zoning revert to an AR agricultural residential zone.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? No. Okay. Open a public hearing. Do we have anyone wishing to speak on item 5? Okay, hearing or seeing none, does the commissioners have any questions or comments on item 5? Chair will now call for a motion on item 5.
I'll make a motion to rescind per staff recommendation.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner, okay, get things right here. Commissioner Abbott, and got a second by Commissioner Hassett? Yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6.
Item 6 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 306-41007B from an AR-10A agricultural residential 10-acre minimum lot size zone to an AR-4A agricultural residential 4-acre minimum lot size zone and an AR-2A agricultural residential 2-acre minimum lot size zone to allow for a minor land division in the Golden Valley vicinity. There is one letter of opposition. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here? Kathy, you wish to speak on this?
I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay. Open it up for a public hearing. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak on item 6? Hearing none, do commissioners have any questions or comments on item 6? No. Chair will now call for a motion for item 6.
Make a motion to approve item 6.
Motion by Commissioner Hassett. Looking for a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner
Gillette.
Gillette. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to item 7.
Item number 7 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of a portion of assessor's parcel number 306-31011B from an AR-10A agricultural residential 10-acre minimum lot size zone to an AR agricultural residential zone to allow for a minor land division in the Golden Valley vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Okay, and the applicant is available. Wish to speak?
Answer questions.
Okay. Open up public hearing. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak on item 7? Okay, close the public hearing. Do we have any commissioners that have questions or comments? Okay, Chair will now call for a motion.
Make a motion to approve item 7.
Motion by Commissioner Hassett. Looking for a second?
I'd like to add with staff
Oh,
recommendations.
I'm sorry. I make a motion to approve item 7 with staff recommendations.
Okay, Commissioner Gillette?
Second.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 8.
Item number 8 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 306-13054 from an AR2A agricultural residential 2-acre minimum lot size zone to an AR agricultural residential zone to allow for a minor land division in the Golden Valley vicinity. The applicant is seeking to create 2 parcels with this rezone. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
We have the applicant available with us? No. Okay, opening the public hearing. Do we have anyone wishing to speak on item 8? Okay, hearing none. Do we have any commissioners with questions or comments? Item 8. Okay, Chair will now call for a motion on item 8.
Motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Hassett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 9.
Item number 9 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 306-40016F from an AR5A agricultural residential 5-acre minimum lot size zone to an AR agricultural residential zone to allow for a minor land division in the Golden Valley vicinity. This applicant is seeking to create 4 parcels with this rezone. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Is the applicant available? If you'd speak, state your name and address, please, sir.
Yes, it's Victor Macias, and I'm at 4944 Laguna Road in Golden Valley.
Okay.
I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions at this time? Okay, we'll probably be calling you back up, but thank you right now. We do have some people that are wishing to speak on this item. Stephen Clark.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Clark, 423 Grand Avenue in Woodland, California. I own the property across from number 9. I have some concerns of what he's doing there as far as the washout and a culvert. The material that he looks like he's using is very small. I'm worried that it's going to back up and flood my property because the wash goes through my property and it goes through the small corner of it and it just come right my way. So I'm a little worried and concerned about that. I'm right opposite Scott's Road from him, down below him. So, and I have concern about that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you, sir. We also have David Sadler that would like to speak on this item.
Good morning. I presently own the property up against the wash that's shared with the new owner.
Could you give us your address, sir?
Excuse me, pardon me? 4567 West Scott Drive.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize. I've never been to one of these, so if I'm a little ignorant about how to do this, again, I apologize. I was surprised about rezoning this property because Scott Road ends right at a wash, and then it continues. The wash is shared by myself and Victor. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. They started grubbing property. I brought people involved with water flow, flooding, watersheds, whatever, and they came out and said, well, he's allowed to grub, not a problem. He's moved quite a bit of dirt. Now he's been into the wash and moved dirt out of it and through it, and I share some of that. He also shared with me that it's a dry wash. Well, recently we've had 2 storms. It is no longer a dry wash. He has placed 8 pieces of 12-foot culvert pipe to where he intends to install it. I talked to his excavating crew, and he also brought some cement bags. I don't know if there's even been a study on what he's about to do to this road. I found out from him, he said he was going to build a residence to either sell or rent. Then he told his excavating crew that it's going to be 4 residents. My neighbor made a phone call to the district and found out he can go as far as 6 residents. Right now, there's 3 residents on this road. We maintain it. It's an unmaintained county road. I've been doing it for 18 years. My neighbor and I work on it together. He recently passed away. He was with me in the Air Force. We retired out here, and we've been maintaining this road. If they start developing this property, it's going to compromise this wash, because so far they have done no studies that I'm aware of. They're just in there mucking it and plan on driving through it. There's also another access off of Redwall that he is not, as far as I'm concerned, or knowledge, has done any developing on that to access that property. Like I said, I've been there 18 years. We moved there for the seclusion. We studied the area. We came down from Washington State 18 years ago and looked at all these different properties and found that this would be the best, because if we wanted to raise horses or what have you, we've got the property to do so. Now they're talking about building homes for residents or rentals. I can't really stop that. I'm doing my best to try to reduce it and the use of that road. The only question I got is, who's going to maintain that road when it increases more than 50% with residents? And who's going to be responsible for that wash? Is it the county? And is my taxes going up when they rezone it? And I'd like to turn this over to Chris. She's the other neighbor that's on board, unless you guys have questions.
Any questions for the speaker? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Christine Brannon.
Good morning. This is also the first time I've ever done this, so please give me a moment to trying to get through this. I am extremely worried. The wash that runs between our properties is not just an active wash, but it's a very active wash. Free-flowing water, mud, debris run through it during the storms and the monsoon seasons. The debris fills the wash and any culverts placed in it, and its path blocked and choking its flow, which will result in the flooding of our neighboring properties. My property. My neighbor Dave spoke to Victor and indicated that he was going to build a house on the neighboring property. But after speaking to the crew clearing the land, and Dave learned property was going to be subdivided and up to approximately 4 to 5, 6 houses to be built and sold or rented, which I believe is a misrepresentation of himself. My husband and best friend and I planned and searched Arizona for a place of retirement. After visiting this area, we took the jump and bought the place across from his best friend of 20 years of serving in the Air Force and Reserves, and were blessed to find a quiet place to settle. I lost my best friend and husband last year, and grateful that I still have this place, through which I total peace. My husband and I spent many nights watching the wildlife in the surrounding areas, and we had no traffic on our road, which dead end and at the wash. It was a dead end at the wash. There was no traffic, which my husband and best friend Dave maintained all these years. And now it is up to us, which we just got done digging out over 6 inches of sand and debris from Aztec onto our property. In order for us to get to our property, we've maintained that. If the development goes, it will increase the traffic, the mud, the debris, and ruin our roads, which we have been responsible for. We have not asked county for any hand. It will block the flows to the wash with his culvert. It has happened. I have a small little culvert in my backyard to keep the wildlife and the rivers and the flow going. But I too have to go out there with a pitchfork. And after purchasing the home and land, we've enjoyed the nature and the wildlife that has been upon our property. We bought the place, but we also bought the other acreage around us, so we would keep that, the cactus, the nature, and everything that mattered in Golden Valley. When the properties flood, we are denying the protection of other folks. If they divide that land and they develop that land, what area are they going to enter into? Are they coming on our road, Scott, or are they going to be coming in on Redwall? I do have a map here that shows the area. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to...
Have to conclude for us, ma'am.
Thank you so much. But if you want to see the map, this is the map of the area.
Okay, we do have some questions for you, Commissioner Martin.
Have you contacted the county regarding the road maintenance?
I've been in contact with Ted for the flooding zone and everything. We have had him come out. He said he's going to keep his findings on record for approximately 5 years. He also said that if there is flooding, which is going to happen, we've seen it, then it becomes a civil matter and court costs. If the court costs us, who's going to reimburse us for those costs? I need to know who's going to reimburse me.
Just briefly, what were his findings?
His findings were that he was moving some items through the wash and that it was his property and he basically can do whatever, and it'll end up being a civil suit. And we don't want it to come to that. We don't want it to become a civil suit. We don't want to have that. We don't need the burdens. I don't need the burdens. My neighbors do not need the burdens. If he puts those culverts in and he reduces the wash the way it is right now, it will flood in the areas. It goes over to Dave's house, which will come over into my property and come into my house, my garage, and ruin what I have. We have been really careful all these years to maintain the road, to maintain the property, to maintain making sure that the wash is going the same way it always goes. If the wash happens, it will go into Steve's property and wash out his house that he wants to build. It'll go into Dave's property and also his garage. And it'll also go into mine, which becomes a civil suit. Who's going to be paying for the civil suit?
So the grading that has been taking place, is that with a permit or without?
I do not know if it was moved with a permit. There has been so much movement on that property. It is barren of all the cactus. It's barren of all the bushes that were there. Now it's just nothing but a huge sand, dirt, stick lot. And all that debris has washed down just this last storm and has been washing down. And in the road, we know that the wash was going to be the end of the road, and we didn't worry about whatever happened on that side as long as the wash ran freely. But if he builds houses up there and he extends the flow and he puts those 8 culvert 1-foot pipes that are laying on I have pictures of it on my phone. I have pictures of him moving the dirt in the wash. I have pictures and video of him removing some of the debris from the wash. I have videos of him doing that after one of the rains. So just to let you know.
Okay, I think Commissioner Alexander had some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, clarification from the staff. It's my understanding that with a wash, as long as the landowner does not change the position of the water coming into his property or going out of his property, he can do what he feels he needs to do within his property. Is that correct?
From my understanding from Ted, correct. But again, he has 8
Ma'am, that question was for staff.
Excuse me, I'm
That question
sorry.
was for staff.
I'm sorry.
Chairman Jacks, Commissioner Alexander, that is correct. Basically, as long as the water enters the property and exits the property in the same location and magnitude, they can address it on their property, but they have to accept it in the same magnitude as it historically has gone and release it in that same
Okay, so magnitude would be a very key thing here.
Yeah, basically, they can't increase the flow going off of the property, the velocity and flow leaving the property.
So that would be limited to existing.
Correct.
Mr. Chair,
Any other questions? Commissioner Gillette?
what is the zoning on your property?
I'm a residential. I have 5 acres.
So yours is the AR5A?
Let me look. Oops, wrong glasses. I'm sorry. Mine is the, my glasses are in my purse. Mine's the one on the south side of the property. I have 4 parcels right there. Mine is the one.
Mr. Chair,
This property here. It runs through Redwall, and it goes on Scott, right here. This is my residence. This is Steve's. This is all of mine. And this right here is Dave's. And this is the proposed property. And this is where the culverts are sitting right now.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the properties that she owns are all zoned AR 1 acre minimum lot size.
Thank you.
1 acre?
1 acre.
I have 5 acres.
My question is for staff, also based on Commissioner Martin's question. As long as the applicant does not alter the water in, out, and magnitude, and if he by some chance does and inadvertently disrupts their property or residence, he would be liable for that, correct?
Chairman Jacks, Commissioner Hassett, that would be a civil matter. Ultimately, if he does increase the flow going onto a neighboring property, they would address it through the courts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
May I add one item that is extremely important? We also have a neighbor, his name is Bud and Nita, and they also have a property on Scott. They are extremely ill right now and could not be here today. And with my asthma, I had COVID and I've got lung issues right now. And to increase the traffic on that road would just create a lot more dust and debris and cause us to have more issues with our lungs. And that's another thing that we are really extremely worried about.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on item 9? Okay. Would you come forward, state your name and address, please?
Sure, I'm Victor Macias, and I'm the applicant.
Right.
So part of what was mentioned, and first of all, my intention is I'd like to get along with all the neighbors there. So I'm not moving in trying to disrupt anybody or damage anybody's property or anything of that. My intention, my immediate intention, I say in this next year, hopefully would be to build a residence. But down the road, I may build more, but I don't have the funds to do all that now. The intent is one, by chance, maybe another one in a couple of years. I intend to maybe retire out of this and do what I can with that. What I heard mentioned a few times is my road on Scott, and it dead ends there. And as much as I can appreciate my neighbors wanting, it quiet and settled, I need to get onto that Scott Road is the only actual road to that property. There are other easements, as was mentioned, through Redwall, which are easements. They're not road. There isn't a road there with a road sign. So if I do split this into 1 acre, if you guys allow this, you know, I need to have addresses, and perhaps an alternative would be to make a road on Aravaca off a Redwall, to put a street sign there, so that I, you know, I don't mind. Actually, I can avoid this whole wash thing. And if it was just me, for me, I wouldn't mind even using that easement for myself. But if I think about selling, or if I think about renting, I can't have people, you know, give people directions to come up through an easement when I have a road. You know.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak on item 9? Yes, ma'am.
Just one last statement. The owners of this property is a Laura Eisenberg in Las Vegas. I don't know what his position is, and he just said he was planning on building a residence. Well, I know this isn't a court of law, but he flat lied to me, his workers, and her about his intentions. So on that merit alone, I don't know what's going to happen down the road. And you talked about the wash, the flow. It's real obvious at the beginning of the wash on our other neighbor's property. He's already been up there and opened it up, so that increases the flow. By moving the dirt in the center of it, and also part that's on my property, increases the flow. And in the picture, it splits. Now it's increased volume into my property, and it's already started eroding it. Over the last 18 years, I have dumped all my old vegetation on the bank to help secure it. And after this last construction project he started, I went out after the wash, and it's already undermined all that debris because he's been in that wash working. So I would just like to leave that comment with you folks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, on this map, it shows that there is, he's talking about the easement. On the easement on this map, there is a, it says it's an easement, but it actually is a listed road right here, and the name of it is right there. And so there is a way of accessing through there. And I just want it noted that it was listed on here with a name, and that it's not an easement. And he and somebody else has already taken the time to drag through it and open it up.
Okay, thank you. Do any commissioners have any comments or questions at this time? Okay, Chair will now call for a motion on item number 9.
I'll make a motion to approve her staff recommendation because
Motion.
it has those kind of similar things in the area.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Abbott. Looking for a second?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 10.
Item number 10 is an evaluation of a request for a renewal of a special use permit for assessor's parcel number 306-09032G and a portion of 306-09033A to allow for a kennel in an AR agricultural residential zone in the Golden Valley vicinity. This will be the second renewal for this property. The original special use permit was granted to the applicant in August of 2016. Staff recommends approval with a couple of conditions here. So one would be the compliance with the conditions of the original special use permit from 2016. This renewal would be valid for 5 years. The last one was for 3 years. So in 5 years, the applicant would be required to come back and go through this process again. And then they are currently using a property agreement to use a portion of the neighbor's property. If that property agreement becomes null and void, the special use permit would be subject to revocation with a 60-day notification by the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here with us? Is not. Open up the public hearing. Do we have anyone wishing to speak on item 10? No. Do commissioners have any questions or comments at this time?
Yes, I do.
Commissioner Alexander?
I was looking at the agreement for the additional property, and that agreement states 10 animals, but the permit is for how many? Or am I not looking at something correctly? Yeah, the application is for 15 dog kennel and training, but their agreement between the other landowner is for 10 animals.
So she has 5 on her?
And is limited to 10 dogs and will also apply to their property and are giving consent to be used as such. Is that a conflict?
Chairman Jacks, Commissioner Alexander, it's my understanding that that property agreement is for use of their property, so the neighboring property would allow up to 10 dogs on their property.
Okay.
But that would allow for more to be on their own property.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just a clarification as well. The reason I believe that they acquired this agreement was because they didn't meet the size limitations for a kennel as well. So this additional property allows them to have that additional, or the minimum lot size requirement for a kennel.
So in other words, they can have 10 on the other property and they can have 5 on theirs.
If that's the way they work it out.
Okay.
And Commissioner Alexander, Chairman Jacks, just for clarification purposes from a legal standpoint, what the agreement does is allows them to have dogs on that other property. That's a private agreement between the two parties. The county isn't involved in that.
Okay.
Because they have that additional access to additional parcel size, that pushes them within the limits of the ordinance.
Okay.
And so what they can do as far as moving dogs around, they can have all 15 dogs on their parcel. But because they have the access to the additional parcel, they can move some of those dogs over there, and they can move them around in whatever order they feel is appropriate for their business.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Chair will now call for a motion on item 10.
I make a motion that we approve item 10 with staff recommendations.
Motion by Commissioner Gillette. Looking for a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Alexander. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 11A.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Item number 11A is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 203-03010 from an AR 10A agricultural residential 10-acre minimum lot size zone to a CMO 6A commercial manufacturing open lot storage 6-acre minimum lot size zone to allow for a tow yard facility with a night watchman's quarters and a billboard in the Wickiup vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Is the applicant present? Okay, Kathy.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Kathy Tackett Hicks. I'm acting as the owner's agent. So this site right here is a few miles outside of Wickiup. It used to be the site of the old ostrich farm that was out there by the same long-term landowner out there. And the site is topographically kind of challenged, so that's why that middle is carved out, because there is a high mountain on the one side. They selected this site in coordination with ADOT because they've been looking for a tow yard facility for vehicles in that area, so that's why we're presenting it at this time. It's working in coordination with ADOT. If you have any questions, the site does have a crossover right in front of it, so it's ideal for that purpose. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions for Kathy? Thank you.
Thank you.
Open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on item 11A? Okay, hearing or seeing none. Do commissioners have any questions or comments? Chair will now call for a motion on item 11A.
Make a motion to approve item 11A with staff conditions.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hassett, got a second by Commissioner Abbott, is that what I heard? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Yeah, one?
Sir?
No.
I know? Okay. Motion carries. Moving on to item 11B.
Item number 11B is an evaluation of a request for a special use permit for assessor's parcel number 203-03010 to allow for a night watchman's quarters and a billboard in a CMO 6A commercial manufacturing open lot storage 6-acre minimum lot size zone in the Wickiup vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Okay, applicant is here. Okay. Open up for public hearing. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on item 11B? No? Okay, close the hearing. Do commissioners have any questions or comments at this time? No? Chair will now call for a motion on item 11B.
I'll make a motion to approve for staff recommendation.
By Commissioner Abbott, second by Commissioner Barlow. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. One.
Motion carries. Item 12A.
Item number 12A is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel numbers 203-27003, 203-27004, and 203-27014 from an AR 36A agricultural residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone and a CM 2.79A commercial manufacturing open lot storage 2 7/900 acre minimum lot size zone to a C2H highway commercial zone to allow for improvements to a restaurant site and the addition of a commercial store with fuel pump facilities and a billboard in the Wickiup vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Okay, applicant is available.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Kathy Tackett Hicks. This is the site of the Lucia's Restaurant. So it's been there by those property owners, a storing family, over 45 years. With the realignment, that same owner was also with the tow yard, the previous site. This site right here has the 3 parcels. They've been here over 45 years. With the realignment of the I-11 corridor 93, they no longer have direct frontage there. They were not considered for a right turn lane only, and they're trying to rebound from the, this last hit with COVID and the restaurant being shut down and everything. What we did is I've combined those 3 lots together because it's been so old. It used to be a school, it used to be a church. There are numerous structures on the site. Lucia's is still known across the state, though. They're still referenced in tourist magazines by the state as a landmark that we do want to keep. This same owner was also the owner of the Trading Post, which recently burned down in Wickiup. So we're trying to rally. The 2 billboards that Lucia's did have previous to the realignment of the highway have been taken down because they were impeded. So that's why we have the 2 requests for the billboard. You come around the hill and all of a sudden there's Lucia's. There's nothing to let those owners know that they need to slow down. There's no right turn lane. Anyways, we're coming from behind the 8 ball to try to, get people to notice where that site is and keep it viable. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I just wanted you to kind of know some background.
Any questions? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Open up for public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on item 12A? Hearing none, do commissioners have any questions or comments at this time? No. Chair will now call for a motion on item 12A.
I make a motion, we approve 12A with staff recommendations.
Commissioner Gillette makes a motion, looking for a second.
Second.
I got a second by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. 1.
Motion carries. Item 12B.
Item number 12B is an evaluation of a request for a special use permit for assessor's parcel number 203-27014 to allow for a billboard in a C2H highway commercial zone in the Wickiup vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
An applicant is available. Are there anyone else wishing to speak on item 12B? Okay, hearing none. Do the commissioners have any questions or comments at this time? Okay, Chair will now call for a motion on item 12B.
Make a motion to approve item 12B with staff recommendations.
Motion by Commissioner Hassett, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gillette. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 13.
Item number 13 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel numbers 208, 40, 094, and 111 from a C2 1A general commercial 1 acre minimum lot size zone to a CMO 1A commercial manufacturing and open lot storage 1 acre minimum lot size zone to allow for a truck stop in the Yucca vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Is the applicant available with us today? Yes. You wish to speak on the item? Okay, thank you. Open up for public hearing. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak on item 13? Hearing or seeing none, do we have any commissioners with questions or comments? Chair will now call for a motion on item 13.
Make a motion, we approve item 13 with staff recommendations.
Motion by Commissioner Gillette, looking for a second.
Second.
A second by Commissioner Hassett. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 14, applicant has withdrew the application. So that moves us on to item 15.
Item 15 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 254-36037 from an AR 36A agricultural residential 36 acre minimum lot size zone to an AR 9A agricultural residential 9 acre minimum lot size zone to bring the property into compliance in the old Highway 93 vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Is the applicant available in the audience today? No? Open up for a public hearing. Do we have anyone wishing to speak on item 15? Hearing or seeing none, close the public hearing. Do commissioners have any questions or comments? No? Chair will now call for a motion on item 15.
I'll move to approve item 15 with staff recommendations.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Alexander, a second by, did I hear?
Me.
Second motion.
By Commissioner Abbott. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 16.
Item 16 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of Assessor's Parcel Number 204-15020 from an AR 36A Agricultural Residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone to an AR 20A Agricultural Residential 20-acre minimum lot size zone to allow for a minor land division in the Cedar Hills vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
And applicant is available. Any comments?
I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay. Open up the public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak on item 16? Hearing or seeing none, close the public hearing. Do commissioners have any comments or questions? Chair will now call for a motion on item 16.
Make a motion, we approve item 16 with staff recommendations.
Motion by Commissioner Gillette
Second.
and second by Commissioner Hassett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 17.
Item 17 is an evaluation of a request for a special use permit for Assessor's Parcel Numbers 35101, 019, 024, 025, 026, and 027 to allow for repeated special events in the AR 36A Agricultural Residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone, AR 5A Agricultural Residential 5-acre minimum lot size, and CRE 10A Commercial Recreation with a 10-acre minimum lot size zone in the Golden Valley vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Applicant is available and coming forth.
Good day, Honorable Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Kathy Tackett Hicks. I just wanted to remind you what this site was. I've processed numerous permits on this and went to the CRE zoning. It's the old veterans, what do they call it, the veterans site, where they've got some dome buildings out there. They've got solar installations set up for that power. They do have some hemp farming that's going on out there. And it's been, we have septic systems that are already out there. The site did hold a few months back a successful outdoor project that's called Love Fest, or One Love Fest or something. Remind me of like a Burning Man deal. But it was successful, and they do want to continue having outdoor events out there. It is isolated. There are not a lot of homes around it or anything. It's about 6 miles back off of Cottonwood, so it is kind of by itself. I think it would be a good use for them, and the county is going through some of their special permitting processes for big events like this, so we're just going to work with them to get it done. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I just wanted you to know they have held one event out there that I understand was quite successful.
Any questions for? Okay, thanks, Kathy. Anyone else wishing to speak on item 17? Okay, hearing or seeing none. Do commissioners have any questions or comments at this time? No. Chair will now call for a motion on item 17.
I'll make a motion that we approve item 17 with staff recommendations.
Motion by Commissioner Gillette. Second by Commissioner Hassett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 18.
Item number 18 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 324-22640A from a C2 general commercial zone to a CMO commercial manufacturing and open lot storage zone to allow for outdoor propane sales in the Kingman vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Is the applicant available today? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on item 18? Okay, do we have any commissioners that have questions or comments? No. Chair will now call for a motion on item 18.
I'll make a motion to approve for staff recommendation.
A motion by Commissioner Abbott, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hassett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 19, staff has continued to the September 8th, 2021 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. That brings us to item 20.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I believe the commission might have to continue this, or vote to continue this, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that correct? We need to vote on that.
I make a motion, we continue item 19.
Thank you. Go by Commissioner Gillette. Second by Commissioner Barlow. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. It has been continued to September 8th, 2021. Thank you. Okay, that moves us on to item 20.
Item number 20 is an evaluation of an amendment to the Mojave County Zoning Ordinance, Section 39, Use Permits, to update the submittal requirements of a conditional or special use permit. Staff conducted a review of the various applications and sections of the Mojave County Zoning Ordinance to ensure that they were up to date with current practice and all state requirements. In that review, they determined that the requirement of a site plan in accordance with Section 37N is not appropriate for the review of a use permit. A site plan prepared in accordance with Section 37N would require a level of detail that is unnecessary at this stage of the planning process. And in addition, a site plan is not always the appropriate review method for projects that require a special use permit. So staff concluded that a plot plan, when necessary, meets the intended requirements at the use permit stage, and that a standard condition of approval of a use permit is for a site plan or comparable review be conducted prior to the establishment of the use. So if you look through the changed section of the zoning ordinance, in both places where it says site plan or plot plan in compliance with Section 37N, we've changed to a plot plan of the proposed use when appropriate. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Open it up for public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on item 20? Hearing none or seeing none. Do any commissioners have questions or comments at this time? Okay, Chair will now call for a motion on item 20.
I'll make a motion to approve for staff recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Abbott, second by
Second.
Commissioner Gillette. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to item 21, dividing land in Arizona staff report. So my understanding is we can continue that to another meeting if we want, or are we going to do it?
You can continue it to the meeting in September, or you can listen to it today. I'm hoping it's not more than about 10 minutes long.
And what's the choice of the commissioners?
Proceed.
Proceed? All right, let's proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. The commission has been discussing issues that have arisen with access to parcels of land or lots of land in Mojave County. And you've asked staff to look into this, and we have been working with the assessor's office. Some of the issues are not easy to resolve, and many of the issues are a result of how land division itself has been done and is still being done in some cases in Arizona. So the state statutes that govern subdivisions, as well as the minor division of land in Arizona, create some of the issues that have been frustrating both staff and the commission. So in kind of looking at that, we thought a good place to start was, how do you divide land in Arizona? And particularly from the access point of view, what can this commission recommend to the board, and what can the board adopt? A lot of the limitations that create access problems for people who own land or purchase land in Arizona start in the statutes. And that's particularly true with land divisions. So I thought to start there, dividing land in Arizona, there's two ways to create parcels in Arizona. One is via a subdivision, and the other one is to create a minor land division. This commission has seen both of these examples come before you. A subdivision actually is a division of land that's approved by the Board of Supervisors. The minor land divisions often are not seen by staff, commission, or the board, in as much as a lot of them are just done at a local title agency. When the board, the staff, commission, and the board do see these these divisions of land, it's because they need a rezone in order to actually use it and sell it and perhaps even construct a home on it. Now, oops, I'm going backwards. Help if I go forward, right? What's the difference? The subdivision actually, first of all, subdivision is the division of land into 6 lots or more. And I think, that's something you've been dealing with for quite a while. Now, the creation of such divisions are regulated by both the state and the local governments, in our case, the county. The state usually governs the side that has to do with sales, promotion, the real estate side of that. And part of that, they will require a public report. They work a lot on disclosure, and the public report is a disclosure document. How many lots? Are they going to have water? Are they going to have sewer? What kind of roadway are they going to have? Is there going to be a community center? These are things that are contained in that public report. The design, which is the layout of the lots, whether or not, what kind of road network does it have, what kind of circulation pattern, what does the infrastructure look like, and what are the required services? Those things are regulated by the county. Mojave County regulates those through the land division regulations. Minor land divisions are the lot splits or creation of 5 or fewer lots or parcels. And the Arizona revised statutes 11-831 through 832 limits the rules the county can place on minor land divisions. And it's those limitations that often create issues with access. State statute requires that counties regulate all subdivisions within its boundaries except for those that are in cities. And the commission can recommend to the board, and the commission shall recommend to the board, and the board shall adopt. These are not discretionary, you have to do them. regulations of uniform application governing plats and subdivisions within the area of jurisdiction. That is where we get our land division regulations. That's the statement that forces us to have those. And depending, in the land division regulations, depending upon the size of lots, the county can require paved roads, we can require sewer, we can require electricity, and we can require planned roadways. Legal and physical access are required. That's not just legal and physical access within the subdivision itself. It's also legal and physical access to the property being subdivided. The county can and does require off-site improvements if roadway improvements or a roadway right-of-way is necessary to adequately get to and service that subdivision. The county can and does require those roadway improvements. Now, subdivision process requires a preliminary plat, or you'll sometimes hear it referred to as a tentative plat, which sets the design proposed and the services and infrastructure to be provided. So when you recommend to the board that they approve a preliminary plat, in part what you're doing is you're actually recommending to the board that they accept both the design, the infrastructure, and the type of services to be provided to that subdivision. The final plat is the legal document that actually creates the lots. And when that legal document is recorded, the concept is that those requirements, the design of the lots, the infrastructure, services, roadways, they've all been provided by that development community as the preliminary plat stated. Okay? And that's something that staff does. We go through and make sure that all those, we have a huge number of conditions with the preliminary plat. That's our job. Go through, make sure all of those are complied with. However, Mojave County has not had a subdivision, has not had subdivision rules forever. And we had a number of subdivisions kind of sneak by before the rules were in place. So you won't find the same level of service or the same access to these parcels as you would the ones that are divided today. Some of the old ones that were done before the subdivision rules, Golden Sage Ranchos, Golden Valley Ranchos, Flannery Allen Tracts, Desert Shadows, Virgin Acres. All those were done before we had subdivision rules. And you'll notice as development that involves those tracts comes before you, they don't have the same services, they don't have the same level of access, and many of them do not have constructed roadways. Now, if you're doing 5 lots or fewer, it's considered a minor land division, and basically 11821 governs how counties regulate these. This is a fairly complicated arrangement. They've kind of allowed counties 2 options. The Board of Supervisors may adopt ordinances and regulations pursuant to the section for staff review and approval of land division of 5 or fewer acres, parcels, fractional interests, and any of which is 10 acres or smaller in size. The county may not deny any approval that meets the requirements of this section. It's important for me to note at this point in time that it says staff review. The commission is not intended to be involved, nor is the Board of Supervisors. You will see these items, kind of repeating myself here a little bit, you will see these land division as rezones. And it's important to note when they come before you as rezones, the rules change. the board has a lot more discretion with the rezone than they do. Yeah, well, they have a lot more discretion with the zoning change, yeah, than they do with a land division. And it's important to note that Mojave County has chosen not to adopt an ordinance under this section. But let's say they did, or let's say they were considering to do so. What could they do? An application to split a parcel must be approved. Remember, this is not discretionary, this is mandatory. Lots, parcels, fractional interests each meet the minimum applicable zoning requirement of the applicable zoning designation. It's got to match the zone. If it doesn't, one correction is to come in and obtain a rezone. The applicant provides standard preliminary title report or other acceptable document that demonstrates legal access to the lot or parcels or fractional interests. The applicant provides a statement from a licensed surveyor or engineer or other evidence acceptable to the county stating whether or not each lot, parcel, fractional interest has physical access that is traversed by two-wheel drive vehicle, and that the applicant reserves the necessary and appropriate utility easements to serve each lot within that division. We can also, if we adopt an ordinance per this section, include minimum statutory requirements for legal, physical, on-site access that must be met as a condition to issuance of building permits. Identify topographic, hydrologic, or other site constraint requirements. We can require the divider to do that. And the county also may grant variances to all of those requirements. But we can do it another way. We can also adopt, if we chose not to adopt an ordinance per ARS 1131A, the county can adopt an ordinance per ARS 1131E. That allows the county to adopt an ordinance for staff review of land divisions of 5 or fewer acres, parcels, fractional interests, but only to determine compliance with the minimal applicable zoning requirements and legal access. And the county may grant waivers from both. Under 11831E, the county may not deny an approval where any of those deficiencies are noted on the deed, and the county may never require a public hearing regarding those. More importantly, legal access is defined by statute as a public right of vehicular ingress-egress between the lots, parcels, fractional interests of the lots being created, not access from those lots to a known public roadway. So basically, there are just kind of, to wrap up, there are 2 ways of providing legal access, one of which is a road right-of-way, which is a granting of the road to the fee simple title of that road. We own the road, we own the dirt, in addition to just, the pavement, but to grant the local government that title, and that is a right-of-way. The other is to grant an easement that grants the public or other party a right of passage. So you have the right to pass over that property, but you do not own the dirt. And title can be held by a private or public landowner. I will also let you know that for the past 2 years, in 2020 and 2021, and I'm trying to remember whether this was introduced in 2019 or not, and I couldn't find out. It may have been. But a bill has been introduced into the state legislature that would prohibit counties in cases of minor land divisions, not full subdivisions, but minor land divisions, keep the county from requiring surveys, which can be very important, particularly the smaller size of the lot. The more important it is to know exactly where those lot lines are. Also, to limit what we can require in the ways of title reports, which through a lot of this is how we determine, how the county would determine whether or not there was access. That has shown up the last 2 years, I believe. I'm trying to remember if Griffith is a representative or a senator this year, but it showed up under numerous bill numbers this year. I could try and get them all for you and send them to you. I'd be glad to do that. Yeah, it originally was dropped onto the legislature's docket, did not survive, and then came back as a striker later on. So I do have a copy of the original bill that I can send all of you. Any questions?
Yeah. Okay, number one, I would like to have a copy of this as well, the report, if that's possible.
Okay, I was hoping it was in your deal, but apparently not. So
send it to me by email if you wish.
Actually, we'll send it out to all of the commissioners. And I didn't go through it, but there's a last slide that goes, here's all the encumbrances that the state of Arizona has placed on counties and local governments in getting adequate access to lots. Some of it's just historic, the way things happened historically, but we're continuing to carry on some of those bad practices even today.
Yeah, there's the grandfathered in access and egress. It seems to me that some of this says, and without looking at the copy, that we cannot require that a lot split have the ingress and egress?
Right now, Mojave we cannot require access beyond the access provided just to the lots being created. So if you have a square and you're creating lots within that square, we can make sure all those lots from the property boundary to each parcel have access. What we do not have the authority is to take that all the way back to a public roadway. To get that, Mojave County would have to adopt an ordinance under 11831A. And even then, I'm not sure, because they defined legal access in the law as being just to the properties being created, it also can cause some problems for us if we're not careful, even if we adopt the ordinance. Although the ordinance seems to, the rules under which that ordinance operates seems to suggest we can go further than just that. But, right now, today, we're stuck just requiring access to the parcels created.
That's a good thing.
Mrs. Ballard, you gave a fabulous report. I enjoyed it. But I got an appointment, I got to go. So, excuse me.
Well, I do appreciate all the work you must have done to do this, and I'm so appreciative of it. And I'm encouraged to see that a lot more on the egress and ingress is going on these days. So I like to see that. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate it and looking forward to a copy of that.
Yeah, we'll be sure and send you a copy. And I will remind the commission that one of the things that staff does for these rezones that are going to result in minor land divisions, they go through and make sure to the ability that we have. I mean, some of the records aren't the best, and so, there are some encumbrances in doing that, but to their best ability, they make sure that access is available. If they're not certain, then you'll see that condition that says, they must provide legal access, but you only see that in the rezones. And most of these actually take place outside of our purview.
Yeah. Thank you. Item 22, monthly reports. Monthly reports were sent out today to the Planning and Zoning Commission via email. Item 23 is commissioner comments, limited announcements, availability, attendance, requests for agenda items for future meetings, and requests for reports and staff. So I'd like to announce for September, Commissioner Gillette will be chairing the meeting. I'll be on phone, but I'll be out of town that day.
I have a question. It seems like today something else came up that should be of interest to us, which is the water, the flow of the water. If someone does uphill something to the water flow, it can totally change what's happening down the hill from the wash. So I don't know if we have any control at all over that, but somewhere someone should.
Not the planning and zoning commission, not us.
Chairman Jaggs, Commissioner Gillette, I'd be happy to have our flood control district engineer come and inform the commission on state statute regarding floods, or regarding surface drainage and that.
I would appreciate it. I don't know if the rest of the board would like to, but I know that, that these people, and that's the other thing, is that we have land that's just way out, just way out there. And so some of the rules that we have are not going to fit what we have. There's going to, somewhere along the line, there's going to have to be some changes made, because we have land that's just way out in the middle of nowhere. With roads but that have never been even graded that go to them. And the maintenances of the roads, I don't know, I think that's personal. They have to make their own agreements among themselves. But I think all of those things should come to our attention and that we should be concerned with them.
Okay, thanks. Item 24 is a call to the public. We have anybody wishing to speak? Hearing or seeing none, request for a motion for adjournment. I have a motion, and we have a second by Commissioner Barlow. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. We're adjourned.
You are a long way.